Group of playoffs to the NBA, as it was a hell of a game in San Antonio. Timberwolves and the Spurs. And Ant is back after injuring his left knee. That was 9 days ago. These guys, Frost, Steve, Wemby and Gobert, they've known each other for days and years. And this is Ant, baseline, bucket good. We're tied at 19s. Edwards creates the space, in rhythm, feet square, shoulder square. All three of these, and as Edwards hits this one, he's got a message for everybody. I'm back. Yes, you are. Good to have you back. The game's more fun when you're here. As for Victor Wembanyama, history. 7 blocks in the first half, the second most in any playoff half in the play-by-play era. That goes back to 97-98. We're tied at the break. We're tied early fourth. Edwards, Wembanyama, take those 3 with you, as that's just off the fingertips, or just over the fingertips, I should say, of the lengthy Wembanyama. Trailing by 1. Edwards scoops, no. Wembanyama with yet another block. That's 11, a new NBA playoff record. That goes the other way, and De'Aaron Fox takes it to the cup, and the Spurs are up 3. Defense to offense in the blink of an eye. But this Timberwolves team is tough as nails. They're not going anywhere. Edwards with the blow-by and the finger roll. He gets past Keldon Johnson. And now it's Edwards again. Float game. It rattles home. And a little chit-chat between 2 tough, ferocious competitors. That's all right. It's that time of year. It's a 6-point game. Again, Wembanyama gets the kick, but the rebound comes to Minnesota. Corner 3, the vet Mike Conley. All 3 of these, and the Wolves are up 9. Under a minute to go. Wembanyama with a head of steam. There's not a human on earth that could stop that. And this lead is now down to 4. 34 seconds to go off the inbound. Ant with a turnover. Devin Vassell, the deflection. Dylan Harper, the rookie, makes it a 2-point game. On the other end, Julius Randle, who just hit a tough bucket to possession before, with a miss. Rebound comes down to the Spurs and Harper. They don't call the timeout. Julian Champagnie, who had some huge rebounds and buckets, gets a wide-open look from 3. They don't call the timeout. They do get the clean look, and this would have won the game for the Spurs. Instead, it just misses the mark, and Minnesota grabs game 1. Danny Green joins us now, and Danny, man, it's a fun highlight to do, and you and I had a conversation before we came on air. Let's have it on the air. I'm asking you, do you call a timeout there with a man that's about 11 feet tall, and you say no, because why?
He just wasn't having a great game. He wasn't in rhythm. His offensive shooting from 3 and from 2 was not there. You got a good look. You know, Champagnie got them in the position that they were in by rebounding, getting offensive rebounds, second chance points, putbacks. One of your better shooters. He shot it pretty well tonight, too. So if you can go and not have the defense set, that's your best bet. And that's kind of what I've been taught since I was a youngster, being in that San Antonio Spurs system. And I trust those instincts. So, you know, they got the shot they wanted. It shouldn't come down to the last shot. You know, they lacked a sense of urgency till the end of the game and tried to win it in the last 2 minutes. And that shows their youth and inexperience and immaturity.
You know what I feel like, Danny? It's like in football, going for it on 4th down. Everyone loves when you do it until you do it and it doesn't work. I'm all for don't call a timeout, because the court's wide open. Minnesota was gassed, and they did get the clean look, but it doesn't go, and that allows Minnesota to take game 1. Is there a value of any kind for San Antonio, this brand new playoff team that hasn't played in many of these games, to get punched square in the mouth and realize now we're in deep water? Is there value in that if I'm trying to paint a sunny picture for Spurs fans?
Absolutely. I mean, you learn your biggest lessons in your failures and losses, right? This is a big loss. This was a lesson. This is hopefully a wake-up call. They get, you know, a little light of fire under them to have a sense of urgency. Like, you played really good basketball the last couple minutes and in spurts. If you can do that for 48 minutes, and obviously they'll shoot better. They shot 28% from 3, and this is a make or miss league. And it looks like the theme of most teams that lose shoot 20% from 3, and the other team doesn't. But you can't settle. You got to find ways to get the basket. You have the biggest guy on the floor. Like you said, he's 7'8", 7'9", has the length that things you can't stop him. And they have guards that are explosive. And of course, there was some foul trouble with Castle, but they have the tools to get it done, regardless if they shoot well or not.
Minnesota has earned a ton of credit, and I'm interested in your thoughts on them. I'm going to get those in just a second. After the loss, Wembanyama with these thoughts.
I think there was some good and some bad, and I think the bad was, as I said, not going to what we know. But I mean, it's a lot on me because obviously my game wasn't feeling good tonight, and that's where the team is going to look for me, you know. And if I had been better, if the offensive leaders of our team had been better, it would have been different. Yeah, I don't know what a silver lining means, but yeah, of course, obviously we have to be better, and as I said, it shows up on the stat sheet, but we need to figure out before 48 hours what we can do better, and I got no doubt that we will. I mean, it's I trust us.
Remember the way Dirk used to cuff the mic? I couldn't stop looking at the microphone in that man's hand. But they lose, and Minnesota wins, and it takes a special type of I don't give up to keep driving the ball to the rim and getting it kicked back a dozen times, and you don't care. I love that Minnesota didn't stop doing that. What's it say about the mentality of that group, Danny?
That they're relentless, man. They don't care who was down there. They're going to keep going at them. And I think they got some gold in it, right? Every time Wemby had to go up, even though he had a record-setting, shot blocking night, he has to go up there, and a lot of those block shots, he came down hard and fell, and it takes up a lot of his energy. He has to exert so much energy playing defense, protecting the rim, to where, offensively, he might not have his legs to knock down a perimeter shot. So they kept going at him. They kept getting to the rim. Their defense gives them a chance because they're gritty, but they don't care who was down there. They're going to go right at your chest, and that's just who they are. Their identity is something that is right in your face. And they're a playoff team. They've shown that because during the regular season, this is not a team that people would look at and say, oh, this is a Western Conference, championship or Western Conference Finals team. But the way they're playing right now, every time the playoffs happen, they step up and show out.
Yeah, and they've got what San Antonio hasn't gotten yet, which is playoff experience. I think you certainly saw evidence of that tonight in their toughness and resolve. Big-time dub. Danny, sit tight. More to come.
As we bring in senior NBA insider Shams Charania, as promised, what is the latest on Anthony Edwards' status for Game 1?
Christine, as of this minute, Anthony Edwards is telling everyone that he's speaking to around the Minnesota Timberwolves he is playing tonight in Game 1 against the San Antonio Spurs. I'm told he has been medically cleared and he is fully expected to suit up tonight. He went through shoot-around this morning. He was a significant participant with the first team. He's medically checked all the boxes necessary, but today marks exactly 9 days since he had that bone bruise hyperextension in the left knee. But really in the last 24 hours, he's made unforeseen progress with the knee. The team initially believed that he would be back Game 3 at the earliest. But Edwards has expedited this return process through multiple different treatment paths, including the hyperbaric chamber over the last several days. So Anthony Edwards will go through his pregame warm-ups tonight with the full intention of playing tonight.
All right, Anthony, the Wolves currently 9.5-point road underdogs against the Spurs tonight. Tomorrow night is Game 1 between the Lakers and the Thunder. What are you hearing about how close Luka Doncic is to returning?
As of right now, Christine, Luka Doncic has not progressed to full-fledged contact workouts, which means that he's still a ways from returning to action. The Lakers are preparing to start their second-round series against Oklahoma City without Luka Doncic. So they're hopeful as this series goes on, he's able to make more and more progress. Today, he was shooting around more post-practice. His movements have increased. He is doing more and more on the court. But as one source told me late last week, it is still a slow path on his recovery.
All right, I'm sure they can't wait to get him back out there. LeBron James and the Lakers, huge underdogs at plus 900 to win this series against the defending champ. Shams with the latest. Thank you.
Christine, let's go to the East. Madison Square Garden will be rocking tonight. The Knicks hosting a Sixers team fresh off their upset of the Celtics. Philly hadn't beaten Boston in the playoffs since 1982. They haven't beaten New York in the postseason since 1983. That's the year they won it all. And we've got coverage with both teams as we're on the scene at MSG ahead of Game 1 of the second round. Vince Goodwill is with the Knicks, while Tim Bontemps has been with the Sixers during this playoff run here. Tim, let's start with the underdogs. Joel Embiid leading the Sixers in that series comeback, but he hobbled as that Game 7 wrapped up there a couple days ago. What's the latest on his status and the workload here tonight for Game 1 in New York?
Well, Kevin, Joel Embiid is probable with a right hip contusion. Nothing on the injury report about his knee, which is a good thing, given, as you said, he got banged into it a couple of times in the game, including late in the fourth quarter when Jaylen Brown pushed Tyrese Maxey and he fell back into Joel Embiid's leg and it looked like he was limping around a little bit. But Embiid was moving around fine after the game and appeared to have no issues getting onto the court this morning at shoot-around here at the Garden. And as you said, his workload is going to be immense. I mean, Joel Embiid had maybe just the 3 best and most important playoff games of his career, leading that 3-1 comeback over the Celtics, a team he'd already lost to 3 times in his career, a team that the Sixers had lost to 6 consecutive times in the playoffs, going all the way back, as you said, to 1982. So now the challenge goes to taking on the Knicks, taking on Karl Anthony Towns, who had a tremendous series against the Atlanta Hawks, who, Kevin, as you know,
watching is under a microscope tonight. How is he looking on that? He's a player that obviously, lives off of his burst to the rim and burst kind of in between cracks. And not only is the left knee, freshly off this hyperextension and bone bruise, but also the right knee, you can remember, has runner's knee. He missed 11 of the last 14 games. So really he's had some trouble recently with both of his knees. So they need a great version of Anthony Edwards in the series. But at the same time, we're just surprised we're going to see any version of Anthony Edwards to start the series.
Okay, so we got the Edwards storyline now. What other storyline are you monitoring in this showdown ahead of Game 1?
The 2 best French centers ever going at it, right? Rudy Gobert, mentor against his mentee, Victor Wembanyama, who, there's videos floating around on the internet of Wembanyama at 14, 15, 16 years old, whatever, going against an older Gobert, and it's been fun to hear Gobert talk about some of the questions that Wembanyama has asked him over the years. The other day he was talking about how Wembanyama texts him, hey, what water filter do you use? So there is a mentor aspect here, but also there's an, a competitive aspect where Gobert is coming off an incredible defensive series against Nikola Jokic, and he gets a very different test with Wembanyama. They're both 2 of the best centers in the league, but different type of players.
And one is the new reigning defensive player of the year, and it's not Gobert. That's a good news storyline, too. Anthony Slater with the latest on the Timberwolves side of things. C-Dub?
Yeah, Kev, the Spurs finished with the 2nd-best record in the regular season. Only 3 teams had a winning record against them in the regular season series, and one of those teams is the Timberwolves, who they will face tonight in Game 1 of the conference semis. Michael C. Wright here now. All right, Michael, the Spurs were last seen in action 5 days ago. What can you tell us about their prep for this series as they try to stay sharp for Minnesota?
Well, I can first off tell you that the guys were very antsy. They were chomping at the bit to get back in action. Forward Julian Champagnie, he said that, hey, the waiting game is just not for me. But as far as preparation goes, San Antonio didn't know what its second-round opponent would be in those first couple of days. So what they did was a critical self-evaluation. They looked at all the things they did against Portland. There were certain thresholds that they wanted to hold the Trailblazers to, according to De'Aaron Fox. And he said some of that stuff was second chance scoring, transition scoring, paint scoring, things like that. Basically, the Spurs just wanted to make sure they were living up to the standard that they set throughout the regular season. But once they found out they were playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, the focus immediately shifted. De'Aaron Fox said it was very much the way NFL teams prepare for opponents.